welcome back to the channel. So excited you guys clicked on this video. I went to Tokyo, Japan last month and I had so much fun. I can't wait to tell you guys about the food and the ramen. Everything was so great. But today I want to share with you how much I spent for the entire trip. I want to talk about my experience. I want to give you guys some tips in case if you want to visit. Hopefully you find this video helpful and entertaining. If you found it helpful, definitely let me know down below. And consider subscribing if you haven't. All the resources I mentioned in this video, I'll have links in the description box down below. Let's get started. So a round trip flight from Dallas to Toronto, then Toronto to Tokyo was $1,584.33. However, after using some credit card points, it came down to $1,102.37. So we stayed in Shinjuku at a hotel called Hotel Gracery, aka the Godzilla Hotel, for 9 days. My portion was $551.19. The food was delicious and cheap. I spent a total of $173.94 on food. This includes breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snacks. We ate out every single day and I enjoyed it. So for transportation, we used the subway and walked a lot. The total cost is $35.23. Here is a list of all the activities that we paid for. The total amount was around $400. However, I used my Amex points, so the total cost was $45. So what is the total amount? It's $2,009.32. Okay, it's time to talk about my experience. Now, how was I treated as a Black person? Okay, so I got a lot of stares. And that's expected because the color of my skin, and I had braids. I had travel braids with the crisscross. Okay, I have a picture right here. This is the hairstyle that I had. So I'm sure I confused a lot of people. I had to remember that people stare at me. They're just curious. You know, for some people, we went to a small village in Mount Fuji. That could have been the first time they saw someone with braids, you know? So I broke a lot of people's necks. I'm talking about staring like they literally did a 360. 3 instances. First one, I was on the train. There was no seat, so I stood by the door, and the guy right next to me sitting down, he looked up at me, and he was just staring at me. I looked at him. Now, usually when you get caught staring at someone, you look away. No. He was like, I want you to know that I'm staring at you, and he just stared at me the whole entire time. So after a few minutes, I found a seat, I sat down, I looked over at him to see if he was still staring at me, and he had changed position so that he could continue to stare at me. I went from this to this, and he was still staring at me. I'm like, okay, I know you're just curious. So that's the first instance. Second instance, I was standing waiting in line to eat at a restaurant. 2 older ladies came up to me and they spoke Japanese. Of course, I didn't understand them. And I said, konnichiwa, and I went like this, and I smiled. And when the ladies touched my braids, she was like this. And she continued to speak Japanese. I didn't know what she was saying. I just smiled. I was like, konnichiwa. And then she just waved bye. And I was like, okay, bye, sayonara. And that was it. Maybe she was just interested in my braids. Maybe it's the first time she saw braids. I don't know. So that was the second instance. Third instance, I was on a bus tour to Mount Fuji, and someone just asked me how long it took to braid my hair, and I told them 6 hours. They're like, oh my gosh. But did I experience racism? Was anyone disrespectful? Was anyone rude? Absolutely not. Everyone was really nice to me, friendly. But if you're a person of color and you have braids, you're gonna get a lot of stares. Just know that people are curious, and it could be the first time they're seeing a person of color. Maybe they've always stayed in Japan, you know? Especially if you go to smaller villages, you're gonna get a lot of stares. So did you fly into Haneda or Narita Airport? We did the Narita Airport, which is further away from Shinjuku, but it's cheaper than flying into Haneda. I feel like this question really depends on where you're staying and how much you want to spend. So our flights going into Narita Airport was $1,100. If we had chosen Haneda, it would have been a $2,000 plus flight. Yeah, it's that expensive. So it just really depends on what you want to do. We took the bus from the airport to Shinjuku and it took about 2 hours. Now, speaking about the bus, how do you get from Narita Airport to Shinjuku? Well, there's several things that you can do. You can take the train, the bus, you could take the taxi, which most people don't advise because the taxis are really expensive. It's, you know, a 2-hour ride. So what we did was we took the bus. Now, why did we take the bus? We spent a total of 16 hours on the plane, right? We were tired, we were hungry, there's jet lag, and we had 2 checked-in bags. We were not about to hop on that train, okay? Now, I am familiar with riding on a train, you know, I'm a New Yorker, but that night would have been my first time using the subway system, and it can get very confusing, especially when you're tired and you have 2 big bags. No. So once you go through customs, you go downstairs and you'll see something that says like ticket or like bus tickets, and there's like a ticket information session. We just paid for a bus ride. It was $25 per person. The bus came within 15 minutes and they took care of our bags. They put it underneath. We slept and waited until we got to Shinjuku, which was much easier than taking the train. Now, going back to the airport on day 9, yeah, we did take the train because it was in the morning. We felt good. We were familiar at that point with the train system and we didn't want to spend $25 per person on a bus. So yes, we did take the train back, which is pretty straightforward if you use Google Maps. But just getting there, if you're tired, you're hungry and you have big bags, or even if you're with kids, I recommend just paying for the bus. Now, you could pay for your bus tickets online beforehand. Again, the links will be in my description box down below where you can buy the ticket. We didn't buy anything in advance. They have the buses going to Shinjuku like very often. I don't know how many minutes. I don't know if it's like every 30 minutes. I don't know if it's every 20 minutes. But we only waited 15 minutes for the bus. So we bought tickets right after we got through customs. So where should you stay? This all depends on the vibe that you're going for. If you're looking for a calmer place, if you're looking for like nightlife, city life, like Times Square, then yeah, maybe you want to think about staying at Hotel Gracery in Shinjuku area. But again, it really depends. I would just do some research. I would just say if you're planning to go to several places in Tokyo like we did, like every day we went somewhere different, just make sure that your hotel / Airbnb, whichever you choose, is near a train station so you can get to different places easily. So there are a couple of forms that you have to fill out before going to Tokyo, and when you're on the plane, the flight attendants will give you a couple of forms so you can fill out. I didn't want to have to deal with that. So if you go to the Japan website, again, the link will be in the description box down below so you can fill all those forms out. But yeah, there's a couple of forms you have to fill out. You have to scan your passport, your ID, stuff like that. It's kind of annoying, but at least you're doing it beforehand. Now, once you get to customs and you have to give them your passport and ID, you'll see a QR code. Once you're done filling out the form, you just give them that and then they'll scan it and then boom. It just makes the whole custom process much faster and easier if you fill out everything beforehand on the website instead of on the plane. Now, if you don't care and you're just one of those people that like paper and you want to fill it out, you could do that on the plane. But if you just want to kind of get through after flying for several hours, then I recommend doing it online. There is no such thing as tipping in Tokyo compared to Puerto Vallarta and Dubai, where they were money hungry. It's like you pay for an activity online ahead of time before you travel, and then when you get there, everybody you make eye contact with wants money. They just want money, extra money. It's like, oh my gosh, like I paid for this activity and now I have to give each person $20, right? It's not like that in Tokyo. You're not expected to tip at restaurants. Even the activities that you book, it's like you do the activity, you get there, you're done, goodbye. That is all. No tips at all. Tipping is not a thing. So was language a problem? Not really. Let's start off with restaurants. Some restaurants have English menus, which make it much easier to order. There are other restaurants that only have Japanese menus, so I just had to use Google Translator to translate it. And then when I ordered, I would just point to it, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, this is what I want. So I did a lot of pointing. In terms of talking to people, I mean, I really didn't have any full-on conversations with people. I knew a little bit of Japanese, just like hello, goodbye. That's all you need to know. Even konnichiwa, like I didn't even say konnichiwa. I just smiled and went like this, and that was good enough. You go into a store or just wave hi, and most people just say hi anyway. So don't feel like you need to take a Japanese course or Japanese one-on-one. As long as you know hello, goodbye, thank you, good morning, that's all you need to know. That's all. Unless you want to like fully interact with people, then yeah, you want to know a little bit more. But ordering at restaurants wasn't really a big thing. Now, if you want to if you go to a local Japanese restaurant and you want to modify the order, like, oh, I don't want avocado, I want this instead, or I want spinach, or I want to get rid of the garlic, then if you don't know Japanese, then that's a little bit too much, okay? You do it too much. So if you find something that you like, try not to modify if you don't know Japanese, because it can be a little difficult. I remember I went to a restaurant in Shinjuku called Samurai, you guys saw in the travel vlog, and I wanted this chicken covered in gochujang sauce. I love gochujang sauce. And I was like, okay, does this come with rice? Well, I asked the employee, does this come with rice? And he didn't understand what I was saying. So I translate, does this come with rice, or does this chicken come with rice, in Japanese using Google Translator, and I showed it to him, and he still didn't know Japanese. I was like, what language do you speak, sir? I don't know. He didn't understand the English, he didn't know the Japanese. He called someone over, another employee, and she was able to help us out. So pocket Wi-Fi or SIM card? Well, we were gonna go with pocket Wi-Fi. We were looking to see how much it would cost for one phone, 5 gigabytes for 9 days, plus a tax, would have been over $400 for pocket Wi-Fi. And no. You guys already know me. I would never pay that much. So we called our mobile carrier, which is T-Mobile, and we have a special magenta plan where we can pay for 9 days, 5 gigabytes. We paid $35. $35 compared to $400. Oh yeah. So we didn't pay for a pocket Wi-Fi. We didn't buy a SIM card. We just went through our mobile carrier. So we got the 5 gigabytes on his phone. I didn't get it on my phone, which was not needed because we only need the Wi-Fi for Google Maps. We need to get around, so that's what we were concerned with. We're not streaming on YouTube. We're not playing games on our phone, during the day. We don't need any of that. Our hotel had Wi-Fi. If you go to any cafe, restaurant, they'll have Wi-Fi. So it really wasn't a big deal for me to have Wi-Fi for both of us. We just needed like one person. So 5 gigabytes per day was more than enough. We really didn't have any issues. So if you find that getting a SIM card is too expensive, or a pocket Wi-Fi, then maybe call your mobile carrier and see what options they have for you. So if you want to use the subway as your primary transportation, then you will need an IC card, and that's equivalent to like a Metro card if you're a New Yorker, or if you live in Philly, you're familiar with SEPTA cards. They're just travel cards. You add money to it, you tap, and boom, that's how you pay. So we got the Suica card because we were going to all the little cities in Tokyo, and that covered like the greater Tokyo part. So I'm gonna show you. So here is my Suica card. Suica card. Here's my S card, we're gonna call it S card. And you can see I have a balance of 81 yen. Yeah, I have a little bit left over. But what you do is you can click on this plus sign here in Apple Wallet. And then you go to transit card. And then you look up the card. So if you want to visit all of the places that we went to, and again, it will be in the description box. like Asakusa, Shibuya, Harajuku. If you're going to TeamLab, if you're going to Ginza, then you can either get the Suica card, which I got, or you can get the Pasmo card. But we went with the Suica card, and it was really easy. You add it and you refill it. Now, one thing to note is I suggest you adding money as you go, because once you add money there, right? Let's just say you add 50,000 yen, right? And you only use 20,000. You have 30,000 yen left. You can't get that money back. Unless you plan on coming back to Japan, it'll be a waste. So we just added like 1,000 yen at a time. 1,000 yen at a time, because if you put too much on the card and you don't use it, well, then that's it. Again, if you plan to go back to Japan, then that's fine if you put a little bit more, but if you don't plan on going back, then you'll be like me. 81 yen is, I think, like a couple of cents if you convert it to US dollars. It's nothing, so 81 is not that bad. But if I had like 1,000 yen left in here, I'd be upset because that's $7 that I could have used. Okay, so let's talk about cash and money exchange. So we used our card for majority of the places that we went to. We used our card at restaurants, even local restaurants, souvenir shops, they accepted cards. And if you're going to like a small village or you're going to Mount Fuji, you probably will need cash. So you can definitely exchange your money at a lot of the convenience stores like 7-Eleven or Lawson. However, if you go to a Lawson in a small village, they won't have the money exchange machine, and that's something that we experienced when we went to Mount Fuji, so we were stuck. You guys will know the situation if you watch a travel vlog. But yeah, we were able to use our card all the time, basically all the time, except for Mount Fuji. Oh, and except for the games, those game stores at Akihabara, you'll need coins, and they have a money exchange place there. I think the rate is 141 right now, and their exchange rate was 138. So it would be great if it's 140 or exact, but I mean, it was close to 141, so it's not bad. But definitely do not exchange money at the airport. That's a no-no majority of the time. Every time you travel, you do not want to exchange at the airport. Just wait. Again, there's a lot of money exchange machines. How much yen do you need? I saw a video saying that you need like $100 each day, and I wasn't going to do that. So I did cash out in US dollars $250, but I only exchanged $100 of it. And that's really all I needed for 9 days. Again, I used my debit card for everything because my credit cards had a foreign transaction fee, so I didn't want to use that. So I just used my debit card, and it's just easier. Okay, so let's talk about the subway. So I'm familiar with the subway system, so I didn't think that I would have a hard time using the subway. It wasn't too bad. We heavily relied on Google Maps, and it was pretty much accurate. But there's just a lot of people using the subway. Like, it's so crowded. It's worse than Penn Station. It's something that I've never seen before. Shinjuku Station is huge. There's a lot of exits. I heard there's like 200 plus exits, and I believe that because we got lost a few times. We would get to like our final station, then it says like take the exit to so and so, and we couldn't find where it was. That was a little confusing. But the subway wasn't too bad. It's just there's just a lot of people, and that's why I suggested not to take the subway on the first night. If you ever do get lost, they have ticket information centers, which we used once. And all the signs are in Japanese, but also in English as well. So if you see a sign that has a Japanese word, you'll see the English translation like below it or next to it, which is perfect. So that wasn't a big deal. I remember watching a video saying that all the signs are in Japanese. I'm like, well, yeah, but they're also in English too. They're also in English too, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, if you need help, there are tons of information centers in the subway. Lastly, I want to talk about food. Oh, the food was amazing. It was around 40 to 50 degrees there, so it was cold, so it was just nice having ramen. I had udon noodle soup, I had fried rice, I had dumplings. But after the 4th day of having so much noodles, I got tired, so I did have some pizza. I did go to an Italian restaurant just to take a break, but then I went back to having noodles like that night. But the food is really great, and if you stick with the local restaurants, they'll be really cheap. I remember we ordered ramen, fried rice, and dumplings, and it was $6 for all three. $6, can you believe that? So cheap. So local restaurants are cheap. If you go to like a fancier restaurant, maybe at like a shopping complex, like if you go to Ginza, it's a very expensive area, sort of equivalent to Rodeo Drive in terms of the stores that they have. If you go to a restaurant there, then it could be a little bit pricier. So if you're on a budget and your budget's really tight, then maybe just stick with local restaurants. I don't eat a lot, which is perfect. So we shared a lot of the meals, which helped. But we went to try as many foods as we could. So we just ate smaller portions throughout the day so we could try many things. That's it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know down below. Again, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you